Hi, I'm Kyla and Emilia, a business coach and mentor from Australia, and I'm a mum of 2.
And I'm Emilia Ottmann, a multi-passionate entrepreneur and a mum of 4. I am from Germany, but I live in Dubai.
In our raw and authentic episodes, we share with you business and personal tips we have learned along the way while starting and growing our global businesses, as well as bringing you inspiring interviews with other mumpreneurs.
This is a podcast from mums for mums.
Welcome to our Mums in Biz podcast. Welcome. This is the first time we've done this live, our podcast recording, hasn't it? Last year we were doing quite a few masterclasses in our group, and there's still videos actually in our group, and we're actually workshopping and planning what we're going to do toward the end of the year and into 2021, and how we're going to utilize the group a bit more. Isn't that right, Emilia? And obviously everyone really enjoyed the interaction last year. I think with COVID and, everything that's been going on the last sort of 6 to 9 months, it's been a bit crazy. But we are back on track. Obviously, we've still been recording our podcasts. It's just that we've been obviously a little bit busy with everything else, especially those people who have been homeschooling. It has taken up a lot of time. So we haven't had, that much time to jump in, obviously, and interact too much with the group. But I think we've got about 600 members in our group now.
Yeah, exactly, which is great. Yeah.
But
I think in order to not waste any more time, I think we should just start our official recording of the podcast.
We can. I think, hopefully everyone's seen our intro in our Facebook group, so they know who the heck we are, pretty much. I'm assuming so. But anyway, I'm Kyla, and obviously the blonde is Emilia. And we will start, I think today we're episode number 44. We do have a little episode that is dropping tomorrow as well, which is one of our little short motivational episodes. And this one, when will this one drop, Emilia? Officially on our podcast app the following Monday, won't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. All right. Awesome. So we will record. You'll see us. We'll blooper up, I'm sure. But then obviously the final product will be on anywhere that you get our podcast. So we should probably tell everybody we are now on Spotify. Obviously, we've been on iTunes for a long time, and we're on SoundCloud for a long time as well. So, but all those applications are free, obviously, to listen to us there.
Yes, and you can, of course, chat with us, like we said, throughout this episode in the live chat, and we will try and answer all your questions if you want to. And so Azran says hi, good to see you both. Thank you. And then there's the link also from Ronette. Thanks a lot. So,
all right, awesome.
Are we recording this, Kyla? Just one.
Oh, no, we're not. I don't know. Am I recording it? It doesn't give me a record button.
You see, we have tried. Like yesterday, we did a test run this morning, and now I don't know. Now it all looks different somehow when you're actually live.
I'm assuming that once we end the broadcast in the Facebook group, it will save in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to hit record on my quick timer as well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So actually we use another software to record our voices as well. So it's a bit weird. I know everyone's going to think it's funny now. But we will record also our voices on another program, obviously, to make it a little bit clearer when we play it on iTunes.
Okay. So welcome to episode number 44 of the Mums in Biz podcast. And welcome especially to our live listeners and watchers. Do you say that? And of course, to everybody who's listening later on to the recording. We're so happy that we are back and that you are here. And thank you.
Awesome.
Today's episode is about getting back up, maybe even stronger after a setback in your career or also in life. And actually the idea came from a listener, which is great, because we always love to hear from you and to hear who's, what you want to hear from us. And she lost her job and she asked us, how do I get back basically after such a setback? So I was initially thinking like, I never lost a job, to be honest. I had a lot of health issues that I had setbacks from, and my husband lost his job, which is essential here in Dubai, but I didn't lose a job. So I was then like, I can't talk about it. And then I realized, no, actually, it's all setbacks, because whether it's a job loss or any other kind of loss or bad news, we all need to get back up again. And then Kyla also mentioned that she was made redundant twice. So
I don't know why we're laughing about that, but that's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's true. Yeah, keep going. That's fine.
So so that's what we want to talk about today. And basically we have prepared 2 main topics that we want to talk about, with 4 points underneath, 4 takeaways for each point for you. Yeah, so, and I don't know, maybe you want to start. No, first of all, before we start, Kyla, we want to thank you all our listeners again for listening, for now watching as well. You are making this podcast, honestly. I mean, without you, we couldn't do it. We get your feedback, we get your positive words, your positive vibes. We get so much from you. You are connecting with each other. We think that's amazing. It's the best news ever when I hear that somebody, 2 listeners have connected, or a listener and somebody we interviewed. So that's so great. Thank you so much for that. And we need you to go forward. We need you to like and share and review the podcast, and obviously also send us ideas for topics. But we want to mention one lady in specifically who sent us a really nice message just a few days ago. It's Florence from Beyond Body Image. And she said she left an Instagram story did an Instagram story about us, and said that she initially resisted listening to our podcast because of the name.
Oh, really? I didn't know about this. You didn't tell me this bit. Oh, that's hilarious. Why? Why? What about the name?
She said she sent me a message then, which I wanted to read. And she said, I really, really like it, the podcast. I somehow resisted listening to it because of the mom's emphasis, which I find is rooted in patriarchy. But you inspired me so much, and I recommended you the podcast to 3 women already. You seem so incredibly organized and focused. I'm really hoping listening to you rubs off on my procrastination tendencies. So thank you for that.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I'm so interested. So is she not a mum? I don't know her personally. Obviously, I should.
She's a mum. She has her own business. She's a perfect. And I know her, and I kept telling her, you should listen to the podcast.
So she doesn't like the mums bit. Is that right?
Yeah, the mums bit.
Oh, she doesn't like the name. Why is that? She doesn't. Oh, interesting.
She thinks it's it's that we are infuriating ourselves. Or
okay. Well, I am a mum. I can't change that. No, but you know what? It all came about. If people don't actually know this, because I think when I created the group, as far as a meetup group, it was Biz Mums, and somebody already had that name coined. So it had to be Mums in Biz. And to be honest with you, that was the whole premise of our meetups when we first met, in a small little group.
Yeah. It is a little bit different to be a mom and be in business. Yeah. And I think so. We should actually do an episode about that, about that moms have a different kind of feeling towards the work and towards the kids.
I think so. Yeah.
It's somehow in our genes.
Yeah.
Anyway, not everybody agrees, and that's fine, but she still loves the podcast, which is great.
Okay, good. So, yeah. And we have to say that it's funny, because through the journey of the last couple of years, there have been people who've gone from obviously not being mums to being mums. So, and we love being on that journey anyway. So awesome. Okay, let's jump into our topic today. Yeah. Are you starting off?
Sorry, one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
Here, the Instagram. We have over the summer started a new Instagram page, Mums and Biz podcast. If you haven't noticed, I don't think, you should have noticed, hopefully, but please go and like it and follow us there. It's going to contain all the episodes and everything. So so that's super important.
Yeah. Awesome.
So let's dive in.
Okay.
You start.
So setting back from a setback. So I think the topic came up obviously because of a friend of yours losing their job, and also we're going to focus obviously on the career side a little bit more, but we're going to give everyone a few tips of, if they've struggled with some health issues lately or some business setbacks with, everything that's going on in the world. I know people have been struggling with clients and customers. So we'll pepper in, some advice there on what you can do. But, this is for people who, I know that there's a lot of women in our group who are in a day job, quote unquote, and who are obviously building a side hustle or building a business outside of work hours, because that's what they hope to do in the next couple of years, is transform it into a full-time business. So this topic is huge, I think, and especially when it comes to redundancy. And I know that a lot of people have been touched by redundancy in the last 6 months because of everything that's going on. And to be honest with you, I was made redundant twice. Both are sort of around the same sort of, reasons with the downturn. I think the major one was when I had Henry, which was 10 years ago, and I was actually made redundant on maternity leave. There was a massive financial crisis in the Middle East, if you were there. Businesses were folding. It was the GFC. Things were in a massive downturn. So, unfortunately, I was made redundant. I was head of talent and acquisition for a huge engineering company. But to be honest with you, it happened at the right time, for me. I know that redundancy doesn't always happen at the right time, but it was definitely a catalyst for me to rethink a few things about what I actually wanted, for the next sort of, 10 years. Even just for the next couple of years. That's all I was sort of thinking ahead. But super scary, right? When 1 minute there's, regular income coming in, and the next minute that there's nothing, coming in. So, and also somebody who's been working since they were 15 years of age, super worrying at the end of the day. And it didn't matter that I wasn't, I think I was about 3 months into my maternity leave. So I had a few months to go before I was going to return. But that didn't matter. It was the whole thing that I thought I had something that I was going to go back to. So, it was something that was a bit like now with the financial, situation over, globally. It's happening again, right? People are losing their jobs. So, I feel for everybody and the feelings, of hardship and I think the feeling of, anger, I think, came first of all, because I had given so much to that company, and I was the head of talent and acquisition for the Middle East for that engineering company. So it was a huge role. I'd put, hours and hours into it, and, now I wasn't going back. And I think that, your identity and your career are very much linked. And especially, for me, 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, I was climbing that ladder, that corporate ladder, and I had a vision of where I wanted to go. So, but I have to say that it did, push me into the direction of where, obviously I've ended up today. So I think the first thing, and the first thing that, we all sort of have to realize is that, we have to take back control and be that CEO of our life, our career. And obviously we are the CEO of our business, if you're here and you have a business, and take that control back, that, it's up to you at the end of the day. And I always, when I speak to people and when I maybe mentor or coach people one-on-one, I very much, and even if they're working for a corporate company, I very much instill in their mindset that they are still the CEO of their career, because it doesn't matter if you're working for somebody or working for yourself. You're the one who has to be in control of where you want to, what career direction you want to take. So for me, it very much, catapulted into that whole, okay, what's the next step? So what happened back then was that the demand of me going back into the workforce, which I was prepared to do after about three months, so sort of, 9 months after I had Henry, 12 months after I had Henry, there wasn't the demand there. But there was a demand in the market for somebody within HR and having that HR experience as I had, to go in for temporary periods of time to help with the change that was happening in global companies. So, you know, the turnover of staff, they were thinking about how they were going to manage and how they were going to set up their teams in a more efficient manner and a more cost productive manner, you know, to keep your costs down, to increase profit and efficiency. So my first thought was, well, you know, maybe there's a, you know, ultimate goal here of me going and being a consultant, you know, maybe working part-time. They only maybe want to be in the office 3 days a week. And that really honestly was how I started freelancing and then consulting and then building that business that way. So it was firstly looking at what the market was looking for at the time. And, you know, seeing whether what I had to give, so again, the value that I had to give was something that clients out there, you know, wanted. And to be honest with you, that's how it aligned. So it's quite interesting. It wasn't easy.
So often there's actually like a chance in these bad situations or in these setbacks.
Yeah,
like,
I think, yeah.
It and look for it.
I think so. I think so. And I think also you need to think outside the box a little bit as well. So instead of me, you know, so the way then I looked at it was, okay, then what do I do? Where do I go? I get back onto LinkedIn. You know, I always have used LinkedIn as a career connection anyway. I'm super proactive on there. I haven't been obviously in the last few months, but you know, at the time, and especially over the last 10 years, it's been the main source of referrals for me. So I got back on there. You know, you dust it off as well as your CV, but I also then tailored everything to what the market was looking for. Because you know how we always talk about when we're talking about our business and we're talking about, okay, how we want to attract our ideal clients. You know, obviously we're wanting to put something out there that attracts them. So we want to speak to that client. It's the same way with your career. You want to speak to your, you know, potential client or who's going to employ you on a consulting basis. So me in HR, say, and approaching my CV and my LinkedIn profile like that. So very much like, you know, these are the solutions that I can provide for you. So going through their compensation and benefits plan, looking at their HR and recruitment structure, and making it really easy, again, like how we say with businesses, to buy my services, right? Even if it's just for like a 3-month period, because that's all I was looking for at the time. So, you know, using those keywords of, you know, being able to jump in, being super flexible with, you know, what their company needed. If they only needed me or only, you know, could only have me 3 days a week, then this is what I could do for them 3 days a week and so forth. And that's how it built from there. But obviously tailoring your LinkedIn profile, tailoring your CV, and thinking outside the box of then, you know, how to approach these clients or these potential clients, you know, still in a very authentic manner, and sort of, you know, and reevaluating what they're looking for. And that's how you communicate, right? You communicate with them on LinkedIn. You communicate with, you know, seeing what their pain points are. Exactly the same how we talk about business is exactly the same as we talk about in our career. What are the pain points, you know, of that company that you're applying for?
Something else, because it's alive and we want to include you all. Sania says, hello ladies, you guys inspire me to be more proactive. Great. My booming career of marketing hotelier for 11 years came to a halt after COVID, but it also forced me to take a look at where I was in my professional life and what I wanted next. Exactly. I mean, it's
reevaluating. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it does. It makes you stop, pause, because you're on that hamster wheel of like, especially if you are in that, you know, in the professional career of like climbing that corporate ladder, you know, the next job is, you know, the manager, the director, and like so forth. And when you're, you know, spinning your wheels like that as such, very little time, you know, and it's the same in business, very little time to stop and think, is this actually the career direction or the direction that I want to take my business? And you and I have been like going through this change in the last, you know, 12 months of where we want to take our business next. So, and it's the same with your career. So I definitely think it's a great, you know, a great time to sit back and reevaluate. But I also don't think that we should ignore the feeling, that maybe you're feeling as well, Sania, that that's the anger that you put into that job, and, the grief because you loved working with those people and now you're not. And I think that
they didn't see your value,
Yeah.
It is normal.
Totally.
I mean, when my husband lost his job 2 years ago, I think it came totally out of the blue, and he was so angry. And, it was okay. It's just important that you don't stay in that anger the whole time, that you are able to get out of it as well, because there's no, that's the thing, that at the end of the day, there's no point. The decision was made. They are not going to, return the decision, and you wouldn't want to return to the job anyway. That's what I kept telling my husband. And when I was like, years ago, when I was still working in corporate, and I wanted a job in more the fashion part, like women's wear, and then my best friend in that company got the job without even applying for it. So I applied. I wanted it, obviously, because I was so interested in fashion. But because she was English and I was German, and it was assumed that she knows the English clients better. Thinking back now, it was probably right, but she got the job. And I mean, of course I was angry and disappointed and so on. But the thing is, it didn't stop me. I took this opportunity to go and follow my dream there. And I started lots of evening classes for fashion design and so on. So I also took action. So I took action. So what is it that I need to learn out of this situation, and what can I do now to get better and to be better and so on. So that's for me. I always make like a list of all the things that I can do now, that I have control over, that I can, apply for a job, for example. Like you said, get your CV and your LinkedIn profile back up. Maybe you network somewhere else,
Yeah. And change that networking group up. Stop going to the same networking group that you went to. Change it up. Maybe have it not so like the interesting connections that I've always made are like not at those like normal networking events. You know what I mean? There've been those like ones where like, I'll go along to like a creative group, and then the girl or the man next to me or whatever like that, may work somewhere, or maybe they know of someone, and then that's how the connection is made. Because in those sort of groups, and especially when you're looking at something, creative that you're going to do, you're not there looking for a job. Does that make sense? It's not as like structured as if you're going to go into like a networking event and you're going to go get business and you're going to go get referrals or go find a new networking job with a recruitment agency or whatever. If you like go to like a general sort of creative networking event, because you're casually talking about your life, and then you casually, they might ask you, because that's what people ask you. And please, like, maybe we should do an episode on this, but please don't ask people what they do for a living as a first question. But it's just like the most horrible thing you can like ask somebody. But eventually you get on that topic. Oh, I lost my job a few weeks ago, and something. And because you're like totally relaxed and you're having casual conversations, that's when they might go, oh, I know this person, I'll give you their number, like connect with them, or connect with me on LinkedIn, whatever it might be. Because I think sometimes when you are pushing for things to happen, and this is what happens when we go to networking events, trying to get clients as well, it's very forced. It's very forced. You're not sort of letting it be and letting it sort of flow in. And it's a bit like, actually, I was thinking about that quote. Yeah, sorry.
It seems sometimes a bit desperate, right? If you come to a networking event and say immediately, I lost my job, can you give me a job?
Yes.
Or make a cold call and just call somebody and say, by the way, I lost my job.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's better to go and just enjoy yourself and you never know what's going to come out of it. So I think that's a much better approach. And then the best job opportunities usually come up out of your personal network anyway. If you if people always say it, if you play golf, it's like such a good sport to make those kind of connections. But you know what? It's kind of true. And it's not only golf. If you're in the tennis club or in a soccer club or whatever it is, those are probably your best connections and your best business connections, even without knowing it.
Yeah, because people actually then get to know you. Does that make sense? Not the person who's like forcing the business card or forcing the resume on you. So it's definitely you know, just something that to focus on is like just being you, because there's nothing worse than, you know, rocking up and, you know, pretending to be somebody that you're not, and then because then the wrong job comes along, the wrong opportunity comes along, because you haven't put yourself and your authentic self first. And we talk about that a lot, you know, showing up as you. So yeah, absolutely. And, you know, like we've said before, get that support network. You know, there's great mentors that you can get out there. If you can't afford to pay somebody, you know, or pay for a coach or pay for a mentor, you know, there's people who maybe you've connected with or maybe you admire, you know, who might be able to spare for a half an hour coffee chat, you know, with you to just have a chat. You know, there are people out there, you know, who have that.
You know, feel honored if you ask them to. Yeah,
absolutely. So no.
People would say no to that. And even if it's just a nice conversation and there's no outcome, you know, maybe he or she won't be like the perfect mentor for you, but you will still have kind of a nice connection there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can continue to look for the mentor that can mentor you on a long-term basis.
Yeah,
but I mean,
absolutely.
Here in Dubai, there are groups, like mentoring groups that you can join as a mentor and a mentee, both. That must be the same in Australia, no?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Big support groups. You know, we're lucky now here. I know that you're not completely out of it, and some parts of Australia isn't, you know, but we are back into sort of networking and meetups and that sort of thing. Not as much and not as, you know, as often. But again, people are finding different ways of meeting people, and it has turned a lot more online now. We discuss this a lot, you know, jumping into groups in Facebook. They've got groups in LinkedIn now. So, you know, jumping into those groups and obviously, you know, finding the like-minded people again, isn't it? It's finding that group of like-minded people.
Yeah, there is. I'm part of a business network here, and they have also organized a free networking event every Tuesday online. You can DM me if you want to know more about it, but it's online. It's just an hour networking online. It's possible. It's always possible to network, you know, even in these times. So, and they are super nice people, for example. I'm often there as well. So.
No, it's great. And then, you know, networking like that then helps with your communication skills, which then in turn helps you interview better, which you know, and that sort of thing. So it all like interlinks, you know, with each other as well. So it's definitely the way to put your, you know, self forward. And that's the same as we talk about with growing your business. If you're struggling, like we've discussed, people are struggling with, you know, getting their ideal clients, you know, getting their products sold, you know, they've seen a dip in sales the last sort of 6 months. You know, we've got to start thinking outside the box and, you know, sending, you know, personal samples in the post if you've got a product, you know, that you can spare little samples, or, you know, going online and doing little classes and master classes, you know, on a specific topic. So, and we talk about health setbacks as well. You know, all these things that we're talking about can be applied.
It's the same thing. If you have a health issue, for example, maybe the right way for you is to find other people that have the same issue. Maybe that helps, you know. Personally, for me, the issue that I had, it would have dragged me down, so I didn't do it, or I don't do it. But you know, for some, it's really important. And so, because to get, like, especially if it's a strong network and a supportive network, they really understand you. Somebody else who doesn't have the same issue doesn't really understand it. Yeah, they can feel it, but they don't really, because they don't have the same scare and fear. So, and the other thing is that I did when I had, so I had 3 times now a bad we are all women here, so bad cup result. So when I go to the gynecologist, so I had 2 surgeries already, and it was a huge, I mean, the first time was during my very first pregnancy, so which was like you're going from like healthy 29-year-old, 30-year-old, completely healthy, to pregnant, which is like completely new. And then this comes in, and it was so bad that people said to me, you should abort this child. You should have the surgery now. So that was like a huge setback. And then obviously I decided to fall into action and to consult the right doctors, find the right people to talk to give advice to me and so on. And then I had the baby first, and I had the surgery, but then it came back 6 years later or something. So that was like the worst setback in my life, because I was doing everything I have in my control, like living healthy and so on. And then it came back, and it was like nightmare. And honestly, it was like a punch in your face. You're like, I was crushed totally. But then again, for me, what helps me is to get into action and to find the solutions that will help. Anything, like look at all the things that I can control.
Oh, it's so true. Even with my health stuff, I think everyone here knows that I have lupus, and I've had it for like just over 10 years, 11 years now. And that was the same when I got diagnosed, like with that, because it's stress related. It's triggered by stress. But it is, and back then they were like, you can't have children. You'll miscarry. Yeah, because it's a 60% chance of miscarrying in the second trimester. So it's a huge risk to have children. Yes. So, go on these medications, do this, do that, do this. And that doesn't, obviously, as you know, doesn't align with my, what my values, as far as, what I want to put my body through, which is the huge motivator now to get into the health industry a lot more, because my primal focus wants to be helping people with autoimmune. And check this out as like crazy universe stuff. Twice this week at the place that I'm consulting at the moment, 2 nurses, because I work for Australian Defence at the moment, came up to me, one with their daughter, talking about how she's got some, fibrosis stuff happening because of some lung stuff that she had going on because of a cold, which I had pneumonia at the beginning of 2019, so I had something similar. And the second one, her son just found out he has lupus. And I'm like, well, if they want to chat and I can help, and you know what I mean? So it's amazing, like, what happens when you put that intention out there and you want that support group, or you want to like find those like-minded people, it comes.
And you need to give and talk about it, and then new doors will, like start and talk about it, and new doors will open.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that was the first part, right?
Yes.
Being the CEO of your life, and falling into action, really. I mean, for job-related things, updating your CV and your LinkedIn, but then looking for the support group, the network, going out to networking events, find a mentor or coach. I mean, by the way, if you have the money, we can both definitely recommend having a coach.
Absolutely. Even though I am a coach, coaches have coaches, therapists have therapists. Absolutely. Like, you can't do things on your own.
It's great, whenever I can afford it, then I love having a coach and discussing things and so on. I think it's the best thing ever. So I think there's no stigma around it anymore, but
no,
in case there is, even for men, it's possible. My husband, when he lost his job, saw a coach for the first time in his life, and it helped him immensely. So it's a good thing. Yeah. So that was the more practical side. And now we want to get into the more mindset, or your personal side, because the one thing that you can actually control is yourself. You can't control other people. You can't control the weather or the virus, or you can't control any of that, but you can control yourself, how you react to those situations. Which is so important to remember and to remind yourself as well. I don't know if you want to talk about the next.
No, so, like we're just saying, as far as like reacting and responding are two different things. So you can react, and so reacting is very impulsive. So it's very much like a fight or flight reaction. So if you've ever been in that situation where, your child's run off and you're like, oh my God, and you jump into action straight away, obviously you're reacting to that situation, or, you bite back because somebody's, said something and you've just bitten back without even thinking. Responding is obviously the more proactive, intentional way of obviously responding to a situation, which, you step back, reevaluate the situation, obviously, i.e. all the feelings, everything that you're going through, and then you respond to it after you've it's a very much a you thing. Once you've evaluated everything and written everything down, and then you look at, okay, what's the approach that I'm going to take here that is going to benefit me in the long run, and not set me back.
Yeah. I mean, it's a me thing. Yeah, I write my lists, but I also sit now. I mean, actually, I've been doing it for almost 3 years now. But I sit and meditate about it. I mean, it sounds really. If I, still when I say that, I sound a bit like goo-goo because I used to be not that kind of person at all. But it does help.
Yeah.
Slow down, sit and think and reevaluate. And then, react accordingly.
Yeah, because, and sometimes at the end of the day, and this is just for everything in life as well. So not just obviously within, what we're talking about here as well as career setback, but just every day. So sitting back and evaluating, how you're going to respond to the situation, and does it need a response right now? Because in some ways, sometimes, or most of the times, and especially when you have this thing, sorry, now I'm talking like I'm not on a podcast, like I'm holding up my phone, everyone who's listening on iTunes, like especially when you have the phone right there. And for me, it's been a very strict situation in my house with the 2 kids, because this dings all the time. So this is completely on silent, like 24/7, because it doesn't need my attention straight away. So does the groceries need my attention straight away? Yes, the cold stuff can be put in the fridge, but the rest of it can wait, because I had to record this podcast because Emilia was messaging me saying, where are you? And you know what I mean? So does it need you to respond straight away, or can it wait for an hour? Do you need to go, like you said, and go sit down by yourself, go read, go play with the kids, go outside and get some vitamin D, even if it's just for like 15 minutes a day, go for a walk. Doesn't need you to actually get back to it straight away. So we're very reactive. Humans are very reactive, and I think we've become this way since we've had all this technology at our fingertips, I think. So, when we didn't have all this instantaneous gratification, we had a lot more time. We can see a lot more time, but we also, weren't as reactive, and, and we can go on about this, and actually it's a great topic, linking onto like the anxiety of, getting back to somebody within a certain amount of time, and all that sort of thing. So it's the one thing you have control over, right? You have control how you're going to respond and when you're going to do it.
Yeah, you always think you don't have to, because everything pops up and blinks everywhere, but you actually do. That's the thing. And I was just going to mention, like, when my grandparents were doing business, they also had their own business. Back then they were sending letters, which took weeks to get. They were doing business with America, so it took weeks to get there. So their life was obviously a lot more quiet. Now, when we do business, we have WhatsApp, and it's like bing, bing, bing.
Yeah, so, all the time.
All the time, yeah, exactly. So, but getting back to that topic, to the initial topic, what I can also say is doing something joyful and positive every single day. So when you are in this feeling of low because something bad happened, do make the intentional choice of doing something good for yourself or your family, something that brings you joy and quite frankly also distracts you. You know, maybe it's time to go either to go to that spa if you enjoy it, or to go to the water park with the kids, or go on a long bike ride with it. Do something that you always wanted to do, or go, I don't know, go on a little trip. You know, it doesn't need to be expensive. It can be with your camping gear and a road trip with the kids. You know, I mean, do something that distracts, that brings quality time to your family. And yeah, so that is point number one. And then obviously, Kyla and I talk about it all the time, and we don't want to go deep here into it, but gratitude is a huge thing. Write down every morning or evening or whenever, write down the things you're grateful for in your life. It helps immensely, because you actually get to see what is good, that there are things in your life that are good, and not only this one thing that you can't control that is bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And stop overthinking. Like, stop overthinking and trying to control everything. Letting go.
Yeah. Letting go.
You can't control.
Overthinking is a huge thing, and I think it's both men and women who overthink, but I think, you know, probably women maybe do it a lot more, because, you know, there's just additional worries that we think that we can control things that are going to happen in the future, but you have zero control. And I think when you release that, you actually have no control over what's going to happen in, you know, in 12 months time, you know, because you don't, because look what's happened in the last 6 months. So you can't control external factors, what I'm trying to say, but you can control what you do with yourself every single day and how you show up in the world. And that's what you should be focusing on. So not whether that person's going to give you a job, but what you can do to obviously, you know, put your best self forward to then have the opportunity to be able to get that job that you want. Yeah, or to get those ideal clients, or to, you know, make a change in your health, or however it is, because, you know, that's the decision. You know, that's your personal decision, but you actually have no control over that person who's going to obviously hire you in the future.
Yeah, you have no control over the future, what's going to happen, but you can create the path. You can create
absolutely
the path to go into the right direction, to make everything right, so that the right things could fall into place.
Yeah,
let's put it this way. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's definitely life lessons, key learnings. I think you never come out of a situation without learning something. That's the whole point. And, you know, and it's sort of, you know, ingraining and instilling that belief that there is something even better out there than there is happening just now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and often, and that is something, I mean, there's always a positive in a bad situation, always. Either you have to go and look for it, or you will only notice it later, maybe years later. You know, it can be years later that you will remember that situation. And actually, you know, when I think about it now, it was quite good for me, because I took that action step, like we said at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, which brings us to the end of our first live recording. And one comment here, and she says, "You girls are so inspirational, loving the podcast, both thumbs up." Thank you so much. I can't see your name. We can't see your name, but thank you so much for that comment. Yeah. But
awesome.
Just, shall we summarize it really quickly?
Let's summarize, what we've been speaking about.
So the first one was more the action side, and there was the point: be the CEO of your life, be the CEO of your career, find a support network, update your CV or LinkedIn profile, and find a mentor or coach. And the support network is also including the networking events, obviously. And then the more mindset side of it was that the one thing you can control is only yourself. And you can do something positive for yourself and your family every single day. You can find joy every single day still. Gratitude practice, obviously, and then stop overthinking and stop trying to control everything. Let it be.
Yeah, let it be. Yeah. Awesome.
Let it be.
Let it be. Yeah. Well, you want to sing the Beatles? Maybe we would play the Beatles, although you actually get in trouble for that on iTunes. But we could play the
singer ever.
I am not singing.
Reminds me of a story. So yesterday we were in a mall here, and we walked a technology store. I can't remember which one actually, but there was a lady. The store was empty, but there was beautiful music. And it seemed a bit like live music coming out of it. And Gordon and I looked inside, and we were like, huh? And there was a lady trying the microphones, like to show people how it works, or the TV, I think. I think she was doing like a karaoke show on the TV because she was showing. And we were like, her voice is incredible. And she's standing like in this dark little tiny store in the mall. It's horrible. But I mean, maybe she'd lost... maybe she did lose her job, or maybe she is actually a singer. But I found it incredible that she found the best in that situation and is standing now in that empty store singing. I thought it was great.
Was she an employee? What was she?
For the people who are shopping there.
Oh, okay.
For everybody walking by, so she was a shop assistant. Sorry, she was a
shop assistant. Okay. She was a shop assistant.
Maybe she lost her job as a singer, or maybe she's actually a singer, but she can't get a job. I don't know. I don't know her story. We were just walking by, but she had an incredible voice. So I'm sure she's not,
Yeah, maybe she moonlights as a singer.
That voice in another way. But what I thought was amazing, that she was using it to test this karaoke. I mean, I'm sure that's not part of her job description.
Yeah. And then obviously it brought you joy because you love it.
Yes. She was amazing, and it was pretty loud. So people were walking by, looking and so on. So that was nice. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. See, she's bringing joy to other people.
Exactly. Always give.
Awesome. Always give.
And Jessie says, "Thank you, ladies, for sharing these using. I guess it's useful tips for keeping it real and relatable. Thank you." Thank you for joining live.
Thank you. So we said this will drop very soon on the usual platforms. Thanks, everyone. We love obviously getting all our comments and all our reviews, so keep them coming, because if you do, obviously we'll mention you in these podcasts and obviously give you a thank you. We're excited that obviously this is our podcast that is truly international. We love saying that because I am based in Australia and Emilia is sitting still in Dubai. So we're very happy. And look, if we can get this podcast in front of more women, please help us do that.
Yes. And obviously you can watch every second episode now is going to be recorded live if the technology lets us. Keep our fingers crossed. We want to record it live here so that you can actually see, and then sometimes it's nice, you can interact. So we are
every second episode, so we probably should tell people. So 1 week we do a small motivational episode, which is only about 10 minutes or so long. And then the following week we either are together, giving you some good tips, or we have an interview guest on. Yeah,
exactly. And we're going to have a nutritionist on very soon. We're going to announce her to talk about how to stay healthy in these times. And then we have... I don't know how I would call her, but to help, like a money coach, maybe, to help all of us
finance,
investment, especially for us women who are sometimes finding this, and now I'm stereotyping again, but sometimes find this a little bit overwhelming.
I think it's a great topic. All right, awesome. Can't wait. Let's see if this saves on our Facebook page, but at least we've recorded the audio.
Yeah.
All righty. Until next time. See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.